Energize. How are you, Mr. Spock?
Each time I return to space, the weight I carry for the loss of my sister feels heavier.
Lieutenant La'an Noonien Singh, Chief of Security, sir.
Welcome aboard, number one. We've got some pretty big boots to fill.
I'm aware.
Okay.
You heard it up top. It's starting to feel like a 5-year mission because once again, we are joining Starfleet and talking about Star Trek here on Normies Like Us with your hosts, Ensign Colin.
I guess Cadet Mike.
Lieutenant Joe.
And this is Captain Jake Card. Jake Lumet Card.
Captain Cobb is pretty good, but I'll take the card.
Yeah.
Captain
For
Card.
Captain, you
The
sure had a hard
alliteration's
time
right
getting your
there.
own name out. I don't know, man.
No,
You have so
on
much
his
character.
planet, you pause before you pronounce your name. It's
Right,
formality.
yeah, I
Jacques
forgot.
Luc
That's my
Cobb
fault.
Card. How about that?
There we go. I like it. I like it. There's definitely crazier characters in some of these shows we're probably going to talk about. That's for
That's
sure.
right.
But
My distant
yeah.
ancestor is also played by me. Yes.
yeah.
So who else?
Yeah, people don't look sort of related. They look identical. That's how
That's right.
ancestry works.
That's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
But, we're going to be talking Star Trek today. I think we're going to be talking a little bit of everything on a serious little program we're going to call Beam Me Up. We're going to catch up with each other on where we are in our Star Trek viewing, some of the new stuff, some of the old stuff. We've kind of been warping all over the franchise. And then after that, we want to take a look at the first 2 episodes of the newly launched Strange New Worlds series. So we're excited to have you along for this 2-segment mission with your bridge crew. We're out here. Where would you guys work if you were on a Star Trek ship, though? Do you think would you be bridge? Would you be engineering? Colin, you first.
Engineering.
You'd be engineering? Okay, that
Good.
works, Jacob.
We'll talk about it. I would be a terrorist attacking Starfleet.
A marquee.
Yes, you'd be the Maquis. Yes.
Yeah. Joe?
I guess bridge, yeah. Meet me in the captain's quarters. How about
Security.
that? That's where
Oh
I'm going.
man, you get a ready room.
Or
I would
just the holodeck, one of the two.
a holodeck engineer. Yeah, my proclivity leans towards engineering of some type. I do like to tinker.
Yeah, I think engineering would be fun. Joe, I think you would be a good number one, like a Riker type.
Oh yeah.
Executive officer.
I'm really good at like perching like he does. That's kind of like my go-to stance anyway. So
I've seen you sit in a
the
chair too. You
trombone.
swing your leg over top. It's very, very
Oh,
Riker.
yeah.
Cool
big
guy
time,
style.
I do like that he has a maneuver, but
I appreciate it.
yeah, I think we should just go ahead and maneuver into the proper Beam Me Up segment. Let's talk all the Trek that we've been watching before we get into Strange New Worlds. So, let's get the warp engines. Not warp engines, What's the other one? They're easier going engines, Jacob.
Oh, the
Impulse.
Impulse
As we
engine.
impulsively
Impulse,
move into
yeah.
the next segment.
1/4
yes.
impulse.
Engage.
Energize.
Yeah.
We're back. We're wrapping up our own little Kobayashi Maru and about to talk some more Trek. Now, listeners, it's going to seem like Star Trek is inescapable to you right now. We're doing our long form episodes where we're covering some of the Star Trek movies. But also, of course, there's a new Star Trek series being released on Paramount Plus. We're going to get to those in a little bit. But we also kind of just decided let's talk what we're watching because we're all kind of like catching up in weird various ways.
Yeah, we kind of started the show, trying to pitch Star Trek to some of the hosts who weren't as into it. And then, Colin, you got into it. But now, from 2005 until Discovery, there was like no Star Trek. And now there's like more Star Trek than ever on TV. So it's kind of a lot to, get a grip on. And we haven't all watched all of it, but we're going to talk about it. And some people are watching the old shows. So it's going to be an interesting little catch up, past, present, and then future, I guess, now present Strange New Worlds after this. But Star Trek new stuff. Picard season 2, I think, is one of the biggest Paramount shows. It's got a big cast. I stopped watching after season 1, but Jacob, I understand you stuck and you finished this whole season. Is that right?
Yeah, I actually, let me tell you, I was not going to finish the season. After like episode 6 or so, I was like, I think I'm done with the show.
You made it past
but then-
halfway.
Yeah, I was
if
like,
you
I
got to
can't
6, man, you just got to keep pushing through.
That's like 4 more hours of my life that I had to dedicate to this show. But you know what? I did it so that I could talk about today. And, ooh boy, let me tell you.
Thank you for your sacrifice, by the way. I know I've only seen the Red Letter Media, and I've watched the first season, and I largely agree with some of their takes. People are familiar with those shows, but generally it seems like they threw the book away on character motivation and any major plot points from TNG, and just
Basically,
that's kind of what they did in season 1. So I was off board at the end of season 1, and it seems like season 2 is some slightly better moments, but in the end, not much is what I've heard. So what do you think about it? Confirm or deny?
Well, I mean, I just think it's not very good, but the characters, I don't even think of them as the same. Like Picard, I don't think of him as the same Picard that I knew from TNG because he acts so differently. And I think that's mainly due to the writing. I'm not trying to blame
And he's a
Patrick
robot.
Stewart.
Yeah.
He's a living robot, I guess. He's a
living
Sith.
robot that'll die at the same time a regular human would.
It's
Right.
just an excuse to like write it in there. It's so strange.
I want a
also
robot body with no
finished season
advantages,
2.
please.
Yeah, Joe
just
and
the
I
same.
are the ones who have seen it, right? And,
Oh wow! All right.
At least
Let
for
it
me,
rip.
I was not super happy with it. It actively like usually these things don't bother me where I can kind of separate in my head like, okay, TNG is TNG and I can still enjoy that. This actively like makes me like TNG less because
Oh
of
no!
some of the things they do in here. It's just so like to think this is the same universe from 30 years ago. It's I don't like it. I don't know.
Yeah, and
But, what
spoilers
do you-
on Picard, guys. So if
Yeah.
you haven't seen it or you
It's
don't
the,
care,
like,
yeah.
Best roller coaster television I think I've seen in a long time. Like every other episode had moments where I was like, oh, okay, I kind of see what they're doing here. And then
Yeah.
the next episode would just like absolutely squash any interest in the plot moving forward. But I'd keep trucking along. Another episode would come. I'd be like, oh, okay. Oh, Q's back. Oh, there's some mystery in Q's character now. Okay, let's see what happens next week. And then
Right.
next week, like Data, but not Data, would hit Picard with a Tesla at
Yes.
like a fucking
Ah.
ballet performance. Like it was
Well,
wild.
I think Red Letter Media, I've been watching their videos as well, and they mentioned they kind of said like the writer's room, it's like they're playing a game of telephone where like one writer will write one episode about something and then the next episode it's a totally different writer just going off basically what the first writer said, but like it's there's something lost in communication, so it just changes every episode. But like you said, it's such a roller coaster ride. It bounces around so much. They're in an alternate reality, fascist reality, then they go back in time to present day, like 2024, and there's just so much stuff going on with Renee Picard, Picard's ancestor. You got Brent Spiner playing Noonien Soong, or a relative of a different Soong relative every season.
Different
Adam?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think his name might be
it's
Adam.
everyone-
I've heard.
Yeah, Adam Soong. All the Soongs apparently just look exactly like Brent Spiner. Because that's
Yeah.
how it works. My grandfather.
Even in
looked
TNG,
exactly
that's
like
how
me.
it worked. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
seen the picture.
So that's actually weirdly accurate. One of the few things that I think is TNG accurate, but it doesn't make it less weird.
Well, and they do that a lot in this season, where different actors are playing relative, like ancestors, like great grandfather of their character, and they look exactly the same. But
Yep.
except for Guinan, who looks totally different. But that's another story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The biggest problem I had with it is it overall I would rank it the same as season 1, where it's like, yeah, I don't know, like there were moments that I enjoyed it, and then like overall massive letdown. You know what I mean? Like there were
Yeah.
glimpses where I was like, oh, this feels right, but then it would just like destroy it the next episode. But I kept coming back, you know what I mean? And even like overall strategy here, halfway through the season, when I was like, I'm gonna hang it in. Like I have 2 to catch up on now because I missed last week. That's when they announced like, hey, by the way, next season, Worf, Beverly Crusher, everybody's coming back. Don't
at
you
this
want
point,
to
I
see
don't even
everybody?
No, I don't
you
even
dare
care.
ruin them.
And
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
season 2, it has the same problems as season 1, actually. It started promising for me. The first episode, I was like, okay, I can get into this. And then it just kind of completely squanders. And it throws so many ideas at the wall that it's like half of them don't pay off. You got Girardi, the Borg Queen. You got Renee Picard, who like shows up in one episode, and then you don't see her for like 4 more episodes. Like, wait, I thought she was like a big part of the plot. And it's just
Right.
throwing so much. And it all has to do with apparently Picard's mom and his memories of his mom, who had mental illness. And then we find out, spoiler alert, she committed suicide, and Picard, as a young boy, walked in on her and discovered her, right? And that's kind of this repressed trauma that he's had his entire life.
That's why he kills other serial killers. He's the Bay Harbor Butcher. I see now. Interesting.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And this whole time travel thing was so for Q to have him confront his past, which apparently he's gone his whole life being 100 years old.
Yeah,
or
he's over
whatever.
100 years old, right?
Is that true?
Well, because they live longer in the future, right? Human beings.
Yeah.
So
Like,
he's probably.
like Scotty and Bones and stuff are like 120 in TNG.
I mean, he had a fake heart in TNG. Like,
Right.
Right,
his
right,
heart
right.
was not even real then.
Well, if the new Kendrick Lamar album was anything to go by, I mean, you could carry some stuff for a long time before addressing it. So who knows?
That's
Maybe
true.
180 years you can do it. But it
But
seems
I
a
just
little
think it's
weird.
funny. Like Troy must have been a really bad counselor.
Yeah, how come
Never
Troy's
come up
never?
before.
You remember your mother, Picard? Like never once in any of those seasons. Very strange.
Right.
There's so many things. The thing that bothers me the most about this show, and like I'm sure they're gonna do it a bunch in the next season if they have to, is when they're like, "Hey, I'm Q, and remember I don't age, but I'll age myself just to match you, so it makes sense." Oh, Gaiden's in the next scene. Gaiden's also going to explain that she can, be whatever age she wants to be, and it's just easier to fit in.
And she can
Except
look like
we're gonna
a
go
totally
back
different
to
person.
the well, and then we go back to the past and we see her, and like she is presenting herself as a different person, which again, TNG continuity, like we've seen them.
It doesn't
back
make
in
sense.
With
old
Mark
Wild
Twain,
Wild
yeah.
West,
San
like,
Francisco, yeah.
But now she's
It's-
got to
it's
work
like
at a
the
bar
writers-
called 10 Forward every time too, right?
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
convinced that the writers of the show have not seen TNG or have only seen like a couple episodes or something. They haven't seen the whole show. I know that for sure because, yeah, like you said, Guinan is in the old times with Mark Twain wearing a fancy dress, and then apparently she starts a bar in
detail,
LA.
but-
Called 10
and then
Forward.
called 10 Forward hundreds of years before.
It would be named
the
after being
deck
on the
10
10th
forward.
deck forward of the ship, right?
Yes.
Like that's why it's named that. It's where it's
And then-
located on the ship.
Yeah, and then apparently she owns this bar for hundreds of years because she's still working there when Picard goes to see her as an old man. I just don't understand. There's
Yeah,
just so much
yeah.
confusing in this. But
Um,
yeah.
Will you ever watch it
I-
again?
No.
Yeah, I'm gonna fall for the trick every year. I'm gonna
Well,
fall for
season
the
3,
trick
I'll watch
every
season
year.
3, yeah.
But not
I'm
going to
never
watch
gonna
these
rewatch
seasons
this
again.
episode.
Yeah.
No.
Oh no!
You could
I'll
throw
never
on
watch
TNG 20
old
years
ones
later,
again.
but not
Yeah.
this.
Oh, yeah. And I think that's the problem with the serialized storytelling, which so many shows have to be now. And we'll get into Strange New Worlds, which is sort of breaking that formula. But a lot of these Trek shows, Discovery's the same way, where it has these serialized stories instead of telling episodic stories like the old Treks used to.
Yeah, there's a reason that works because even with old westerns and stuff, like, man, when you syndicate that stuff, it's like every once in a while I'll catch an old Rifleman episode. I'll be like, I love this one. It's the one where the black hat comes in and does the gun show, and then these, it's like you can't do that anymore, and I think that's kind of a problem too. But that's
Right.
the structure of the show, not the writing. But
Right, and that's the way television was at that
Yeah.
time. Then DS9 started doing more serialized storylines, but still had episodic. And that's kind of what I'm expecting from Strange New Worlds. Picard, it's like you can't just watch a single episode of this season. It wouldn't make any sense. You have to watch the whole thing front to back.
Right.
And it still
yeah.
doesn't make a lot of sense because
No.
it's just so all over the place.
I think the point you made about the writers not knowing what they're doing or not having watched Star Trek or understand it, Red Letter pointed this out, and I'll just expand on it. Like, it's the fact that when Picard's talking about what happened to his mother, he says, "My mother hung herself," which the term is hanged. That's kind of what they said. So someone as intelligent as Picard would know that it's hanged, right? And then
Yes, right.
also for them to not be able to write in proper English, this is from the writer's perspective, the most important emotional scene Picard has been carrying his whole life. To get it wrong, it just shows how much they don't know what they're doing. They're not paying attention to details, even of like basic English. And so it seems like they just kind of drop the ball. Like we're trying to do this emotional thing, but you can't even name it correctly. And then you make Picard
and they're
look
kind of
stupid by
doing the
proxy.
same plot as All Good Things, right? It's the same kind of point with Q trying to prove stuff to Picard about, his past and stuff. And I guess we find out, so I guess I don't know what the mystery was. Picard thought his dad drove his mom to suicide. His dad, Guy Spaltar from Battlestar Galactica, who apparently is Picard's dad.
Okay.
That's the actor that plays him. But
Right.
The character.
yeah.
Yes.
But it just didn't work for me. And the time travel, it's hard to do time travel well because if you do it bad, it just comes off as lazy. And that's what this kind of came off to me.
There's no way you could do Trek time travel and just ignore like the movie First
implications.
Contact. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like It's I don't know. One last note about Picard before I want to move on from Picard. I do like that it seems like they're kind of recasting some classic characters. I think the new Borg Queen is pretty great in that role, and even New Gaiden I thought did a decent job of matching some expressions while also bringing some like new heart to the character. So I don't know. Maybe I bring that thought back when we're talking Strange New Worlds too. But I love how they're kind of recasting classic Star Trek characters.
Yeah, I agree with you there. But again, it just brings up more questions about the time travel. You know, there's the temporal prime directive, which you're not supposed to really mess with. It's similar.
We
to
had
the
a
Prime
Cold
Directive,
War.
right?
You just ask, Archer about that. A temporal Cold War over that.
But then in Picard, we have one of the main characters, Cristobal Rios, the captain, right, decides to stay in the past, which is like totally against the rules. Like you can't just do that.
Unless it's predestined. Remember,
I guess it was all predestined, everything they did.
Julian talks about that in the DS9 episode, where he is like, what if this is one of those paradoxes where I'm supposed to become my own great-grandfather, blah, blah, blah. Maybe that was for this captain. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's bad,
They don't spend a lot of time in space, do they, in this show? It's pretty much cities.
No. Most of this
spend a
takes
lot of
place
time in
current-day
Los
LA.
Angeles 2024,
Yeah, good budgeting. Fuckers, man. No, this
Again,
is
with the
not Star
Borg
Trek to
stuff.
me. It's just shitty drama with Star Trek action figures.
But Joe, I wanted to mention the Borg Queen stuff because I did like that more than most of the stuff in the season. But again, it just brings up more questions. It's like, well, does that erase everything that happened with the Borg up till now? Because there's a new Borg Queen that's a different, like a more friendlier Borg Queen, but there's still the original Borg Queen. So there's like two different Borg collectives. I don't know. It's just confusing, and they don't explain it very well.
Again, dog, it's like, to me, it's candy. It doesn't have to make sense. This is not the Trek I'm going to hang my hat on forever. These are those, what I think will be that weird trilogy of Picard made-for-TV movies that are kind of, you can watch them if you want, but they're a little out there.
Yeah. Okay.
The last note I want to make is just about the main characters in this show that are kind of squandered. Raffi, Rios.
You want more from Raffi?
No,
Eleanor's squandered? All these characters suck.
That's what I'm
saying.
They could have done something. They tried to do something with them in season 2, and it just didn't work for me.
Raffi in season 9 or 7 and 9 are in love, like really all of a sudden in season 2. Like that.
What happens at the end of season 1? They're like, oh, we're like in love or whatever. 7 is another character that's nothing like she was in Voyager. Literally a different character, and like it just takes me out of it to see Picard.
Oh, you know what? Here it is. This is my biggest criticism, and I haven't even seen season 2, but I've seen this. The only proof we need that this is really bad Star Trek is that they brought back Wesley. You know? Like they brought him back. That says everything you need to know about this show. The writers want you to die.
I love it. I love it.
It doesn't even make sense why they bring him back.
No,
and they have
he's
the
like,
new
hey,
Soji character. Like,
this is what happened to me. Let me finish my monologue.
That's how we wrote you off the show. We wanted you gone. Why are you back? Who did this?
He's a talking Trek show.
Who dared open the forbidden book?
Talking Trek.
Yeah, they opened the Star Trek Darkhold. Now it comes Wesley. What's up, motherfuckers? I'm back.
So if you were to ask me if I was excited about the next season with all these TNG actors coming back, I guess a little bit more than season 2, but it's at this point it's like they've ruined it so much that I have no expectations that it's going to be any good. So I mean, I'll still watch it, but I'm not expecting literally anything.
Yeah. Look, I think I'm the warmest on these shows, I think, which is like hard to believe, but I think I'm the warmest on these shows. Are you excited about TNG characters so you can like watch them have a pizza party at Riker's place? Like you saw what they did with these characters in season 1. It's not like they do anything meaningful when they come back. Is kind of my big problem.
They're not going to be crewing the Enterprise and going around doing adventures. They're probably going to be, I don't know, stuck in some
one episode
pizza
each.
Party at Riker's. Like I'm not,
Yeah. No. I don't know. I never really got like into Discovery either, but like I know, didn't they do something where they set up something at the first part of the season and at the end it's revealed, oh, it was a familiar character all along, and like didn't they just do that in Picard season 2? Like they've already done it, this same writing squad, right? And they're already recycling their own stuff.
Discovery, I've been in and out of. I don't think it's very good.
I
but
stopped
started-
halfway into season 1 again. It's too action heavy for me there. Like it's not, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, shit's blown up. It's too
No,
much.
I watched season 1, and then recently I've been watching season 2 because I was watching Strange New
You
Worlds.
got Paramount Plus,
Like
might
that
as well.
show, and I was like, I want to see more of Pike and the Enterprise crew. When do they come in? Season 2, episode 1. So I started watching from there,
Oh,
and it's it's whatever. It's like this show revolves around Michael Burnham so much, where it's just I don't know, man. These characters.
Yeah,
Michael Burnham, your favorite character.
Yeah,
in
Michael
all of
Burnham.
Iraq.
I've been
Space Jam.
in and out on Discovery, but again, like that's not a show I'll rewatch ever
Right.
either. Probably.
Hmm.
You know what I
No.
do rewatch all the time though is all of the other Star Trek shows. No,
And Colin's been
so-
doing that too, right? What have you been catching up on
So-
in the classic Trek?
And I think this is a perfect branch into because I have so many questions about where these characters are going to end up and just kind of that Picard season 3 stuff you said. So, as everybody knows my history, no Star Trek, kind of the movies, love the Kelvin timeline a lot. Jacob does this great Deep Space Nine episode. This is the one you should get into. Maybe. Super get into it. I stopped before the Worf episodes, so by season
That's
3,
great.
I was kind of out.
Season 4 is like the best part of that show.
Well, I'm
The Dominion
He's on the
War.
cusp.
baby. Yeah.
So then we got to this era where I would kind of keep Pluto TV on. I've sung its praise a million times over, but to sum up for listeners who haven't heard it, they have a direct Star Trek channel. They'll kind of change the content up on weekends, but mainly it's TNG nonstop. And they'll kind of do it in 2 different breaks so that you're seeing different seasons of episodes, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would put them on before work, catch the first act to an episode, and then leave my TV on all day, come home, catch the 5th final act of a crazy different episode, right? As I was cooking dinner. And that was kind of my intro to TNG.
Yeah, that's a normal
Where
way
I-
to watch TV shows.
Totally. Yeah, just
Yeah,
always disconnected, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Where I am at now, because the power of this show, and I think it is the strength of Star Trek in general, is that those acts are perfect. I like the time it takes to tell these stories because when you get the 5th act in a Star Trek where it can be Picard having this quiet moment about how he was tortured by a Cardassian to see 5 lights instead of 4. He's in a therapy session and just sort of like telling a very soft story to sum up the moral of the episode. And he'll say, and I did see 5 lights at the end. And it'll just cut and you'll hear that
Yeah.
music and I'll just be like, how can I go to work now? How could I just like go on with my life? My whole
Yeah.
day
Yeah.
is ruined by the philosophy of this show. It's so strong. It's so hard. I've gone back and watched the full episodes now of targeted ones I like.
Mm-hmm.
And I adore it. You guys were right. I don't know why I fought it. Like, obviously, TNG's the best Star Trek of all time. Like, how could it not be?
Right. They say you can't teach somebody something they think they already know, and you thought you already were not having it. But I'm glad you've warmed up to it. You see, the thing with the 4 and 5 lights is you didn't realize that what he should have been examining was the death of his mother that whole time,
Exactly.
with the therapist. But
Yeah.
I'm glad you
Like-
like it. I really am
And the guest
genuinely.
stars are like Ronnie Cox is like the Starfleet admiral who comes in to like negotiate to get Picard back, and it's like, oh, Ronnie Cox,
Yeah.
the villain of all the Paul Verhoeven movies I like, Total Recall and RoboCop. Like, this is
Oh, right.
amazing.
Oh, Colin, you gotta watch the one where Kelsey Grammer is a Starfleet captain.
Yeah.
I just watched
believe
that
it.
one. So here's the Colin recommended Pluto TV so much. Those channels exist on Paramount Plus. If you go to the home screen, you can scroll down to live channels.
Oh, wow.
There's a Star Trek channel. It's just a Star Trek. That's what I've been using to fall asleep. And I go to bed significantly later than Colin. So we were texting, and he was like, I just realized I'm watching episodes from the final season. That night, I had seen the pilot of TNG because it was, I think once they end, they just like keep rolling it again. So Cassie and I caught the pilot right as we were going to bed, and now we've just started a brand new TNG rewatch.
Nice.
You just tune in
Well, for
whenever.
me-
Yeah, that's cool.
I've been using PP Plus a lot, Paramount Plus, and I've been watching all kinds of Trek, not just the new stuff. I've been on TNG kick. I've been on a Voyager kick. I've just been watching random episodes, whatever I feel like putting on while I'm working. And it's been a blast. Like I mentioned, I've been watching original series too because I've tried to connect that to the movies, and now to Strange New Worlds. There's a lot of connections. So I'm like, man, I'm just in the Trek zone right now too.
Question for you, Jacob, as someone who's consuming all that stuff. Now, you guys have pointed out to me all this stuff in the TNG era of, oh, the Scotty episode's so funny. Oh, you see Bones in the pilot super old, or oh, you get ready for
salt
this
vampires
cross-pollination, right?
Yeah.
In like Voyager and Enterprise and all these other ones, do you get my beloved like DS9 characters, or like does Worf ever come back in any of these other shows?
Well, by the time Worf is on DS9, TNG is over already. That's why they bring him in season 4.
Barclay shows up in Voyager.
Yeah, Barclay shows up in Voyager.
He has a pretty meaty role.
Barclay's all over.
If you like Barclay, his Voyager arc is good.
Deanna Troi is in Voyager too.
Colin, Deanna Troi and Riker are in the finale of Enterprise, which is a really interesting episode of television.
Yeah. Basically, the episode, I won't, but it's like during the episode of TNG, the Pegasus, Riker has writer's block for what to do with command, so he decides to watch the last mission of Scott Bakula's Enterprise, and so it's basically like the finale for that show is like just a footnote in a random episode.
That's terrible.
The next, they got did dirty, but
what
they
did
do
this
have.
idiot do on this one mission?
Now you got to check it out. But yeah, you'll have to.
And he's playing the cook, and he's like, "I'm
pretending to be a chef.
What do you think?" And he's doing like a dumb accent. Too.
Yeah, because he's a fly. He's an observer.
Very silly.
But Enterprise does have the distinction of being the only Star Trek show canceled besides the original series, so that's why it has a weird ending. Yeah.
Wow.
So.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, there was a drought of Star Trek from the end of Enterprise 2005. You got the J.J. Abrams movies, but no new shows until 2017. So that's like a 12-year gap with no Star Trek on TV. You just had the 2 J.J. Abrams movies at that point, basically.
Yeah.
So we're kind of lucky to have so many shows now, but also I don't like most of them. But maybe we're going to talk about one that I do like.
I think it's fair to say you don't like most of them.
Yeah. I haven't watched enough Lower Decks. I know I'm a big Jack Quaid fan, so I need to get in there.
If you like Lower Decks, then you like half of them.
Yeah, I like. Well, there's 5 if you count the kids animated show, which I haven't seen. So
Prodigy.
2 of them I don't like.
Okay.
Yeah, Prodigy. So 2 of them I don't like. 2 of them I like.
And one of them's not made for you.
And one of them is an animated comedy, which is a little different than normal Trek. So let's just say I'm happy that Strange New Worlds is here, and I'm happy to. I'm excited to talk about it too.
Yeah, I'm ready to
You
go.
guys forgot about the Orville coming back because that counts.
Oh yeah, the best Star Trek show.
You love
Comedy
Star
Trek does
That's
count.
true.
You're
From
right.
this outside point of view, I do have to say though, guys, I am bugged in this new fan coming to the old fan way that I'm sure you guys are as well. Of it's squandered in what you want to showcase. The idea of doing the old Trek with new worlds that we're about to talk about. Fantastic, that's cool. That's an angle on it. All the other stuff feels like this very random, very hodgepodge of Paramount Plus is giving us a ton of money to highlight and recognize that a whole wing of what they need to be producing is Star Trek. Yeah. I don't have an idea of what Star Trek is or means, so we're all just going to be blasting our loads. When we have talked about in the past, Star Trek is the idea of a crazy sex hippie who had a very particular take on what Star Trek should be.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it has to lead that way.
Yeah.
It can. There are multiple avenues and stuff, but when you have all the things on the table, like to me, again, coming to it so late, the thing that I just keep looking at is like, how did the Kelvin movies, the new series, all this stuff, not land on the Cardassia-Bajoran conflict? You have it in TNG, you have it in DS9. It's such an easy allegory for modern politics and stuff. It's weighty, it's spy, it's combat, which I know leveling fans of Star Trek are going to want different things out of that. I totally get that. But I'm saying a branch of it so obviously should be addressing that stuff. That it mystifies me that it's not.
I guess because they just resolved it so well with DS9, like that arc was so well done that they didn't want to touch it again, but they haven't really revisited that era, other than Lower Decks, it's just the only new Trek show that's set during that era.
Let
I
me
think,
post.
which is the TNG
Oh, Joe, do you have a
to
thought
the
on this?
Voyager era.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like they're being treated like the OT is what I feel we're getting with the TNG era stuff. So like, no one's allowed to kind of touch that right now, except for Lower Decks, which is like kind of an entry level to it. But I would
you
love
build
to
around
see
it.
everything in that era
Totally.
as well. Like, I think it's time that we can go back to it now, and Lower Decks is the start of that. But it was too fresh for a while. I mean, it was treated like, oh, that's the good stuff. You're not going to redo that. There's other stuff.
Well, that's my favorite era. You know, there's a lot of people that prefer, I guess, the original series era, which is kind of where the Strange New Worlds is taking place in, and Discovery, which was a prequel to the original series.
Yeah, but that's not really a prequel. I mean, like it is, but it's not.
Yeah,
it's
like set in that era though. But the thing with Discovery is, I feel like they never had a clear vision of what this show was going to be. This is going to be your flagship Star Trek show, the first one in 12 years, and you don't really have a clear idea of what you want. So you have 2 episodes in the past, now 2 episodes in the far future. It doesn't connect to anything. It's like, what is the point, you know? So I still don't know what that show is supposed to be.
So it seems to me like, you know, as we looked at Deep Space Nine, getting ready to talk Strange New Worlds, Star Trek can be a lot of stuff. It actually can be, and Paramount Plus has to provide as much content. They're like looking at Star Wars. Look, we have The Mandalorian. They have that cartoon for the kids. They got, you know, we want that brand, you know, obviously for our streaming service.
Yeah, Paramount Plus, they don't have a lot of IP to draw on. You know, Halo getting horribly bashed by everyone who watched it.
The idea of The Godfather. It's like, we're not going to remake The Godfather.
The idea
of The Godfather.
It's the winning time for The Godfather.
But
terrible.
With all the Star Trek they have been making, there's a very vocal group of Star Trek fans who, to them, like me, it is a morality parable in space that's episodic. And it, even though we waited 20 years or whatever, almost, it's like, why couldn't we just have any one of these shows? I don't care what time period you put it in. I prefer the future, but just give me morality tales in space that are episodic. And finally,
that's why
we're getting it. So I think now is the time. Yes, finally. To the Strange New Worlds that are strangely more familiar.
Let's talk Strange New Worlds. Jacob, will you give us the baby bit of context that we need from whatever their Discovery appearances before we go into this new series?
Yeah, so just give you a little backstory. So Discovery Season 1, the captain is Captain Lorca, Jason Isaacs, right? And he's like this war general. He's very aggressive. Then we find out, oh, he was actually from the Mirror Universe, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter.
Because he looked like an asshole captain, and it's like, it's because he's from an evil universe.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's because he is.
Yes.
You also have Michelle Yeoh, who kind of pops up, who's like part of Section 21.
But she's everything everywhere all at once. I mean, this is one of her things. Yeah.
Very good. Doesn't matter. Season 1 doesn't matter. Now, Season 2 starts. They don't have a captain, right? You got Michael Burnham, the main character, not a captain. She's like a random lieutenant or whatever. You have Saru, who's the first officer, who's played by Doug Jones.
Sure.
Yeah.
Big alien guy.
They don't make him captain because he's not experienced enough yet. So they need a new captain to pilot Discovery. And so who do they get? Oh, it's Captain Pike and the Enterprise. They run into him in the first episode, and the Enterprise is like needs repairs. Like it's been shut down for some reason. There's these red lights in the sky. That's the overarching point of the second season, which is really dumb. You don't have to worry about that. The thing you just need to know is that Pike and the Enterprise crew are now on Discovery, and he's the acting captain for this season of the USS Discovery. And they're just doing Star Trek things.
We get a family reunion because Michael Burnham is Spock's sister.
Yes, and that's
that's right.
That's a big part of the show as well. So Michael Burnham is Spock's adopted sister. So apparently Sarek and his human wife Amanda adopted a human child, Michael Burnham, who's also like this brilliant, mathematician. And so she's raised in the Vulcan ways. So she's more logical and less emotional than most humans, but she's not part, Vulcan. She's fully human, I think. But she's a more Vulcan sort of human. And she's got this relationship with Spock, troubled history of him being distant with her because he's a Vulcan and shit. But it's
You
not
are
really that.
too. Well, you were raised,
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But we find out that these red lights are really important for some reason. There's these 7 lights that appear in space that nobody knows what they are, but Spock's trying to figure out the meaning behind them. But all you really need to know is that these characters exist. You got Captain Pike, you got Number 1, played by Rebecca Romijn, and you got Spock. And those are the big 3 from
the carryover.
Discovery, the carryover to this new show.
Okay, got it.
Some sort of incident occurs. I didn't watch it. Maybe it's the finale of that Discovery, but there's something in a Klingon temple with time orientation where Christopher Pike is sort of aware of the fate that will bestow him. Now, anybody who does not know that Christopher Pike, the pilot captain of Star Trek looking like it's not going forward. Let's get this asshole out of here. He's not working out. We replace him with this great guy, James T. Kirk, much beloved. Christopher Pike, kind of a recurring character still. We see him in the Menagerie, or if that's the pilot, Jacob.
So what happened is the original actor for Pike played Captain Pike in the unaired pilot called The Cage. That was never originally aired, but they reused that footage for a 2-part episode called The Menagerie, where we find out a little bit about what happened to Pike. But basically, he has this horrible accident where he ends up in this like chair. He can't do anything. He can't talk. He can only push one button for yes, 2 buttons for no, or whatever.
Like South Park's parodied it. Like you have the image in your mind, even if you've never seen it. It's
Basically, the Menagerie was their way to save money and have a 2-part episode where they basically reused a bunch of footage that no one had seen before and made a coherent story out of it, I guess. But it's interesting how that ties into Strange New Worlds now, because you have this Pike who has seen a premonition of how he's going to die. He's going to die saving a bunch of cadets.
Or he's going to end up in a chair that way.
Yeah, that's right. But he knows basically that he has like 10 years to live. So it's like the show saying we have 10 seasons to do whatever we want before his inevitable
exciting
accident.
Right. Well, Gandalf says we just have to choose what we do with the time we have, or something like that. And that's kind of the thing. He knows what fate awaits him. So they address really early in this first episode too, like he's dealing with that. And he has a very candid conversation, I think, with one of the other officers too about what do you do when you know what's going to come next. And that's going to be a theme.
The pilot. Can you defy fate? But aside from that, and all that context aside, which again I'm not positive we needed, but it is cool to have that. It's just an OG Trek show. It is a mystery of the week, seemingly. So we have watched 2 now. I'll ask you guys straight up: reactions to the pilot. Did you like Strange New Worlds, Joe?
It's my favorite Star Trek pilot.
Wow!
Hands down. I think it was such a refreshing. Yeah. Like a Star Trek pilot is usually some sort of weird mythos that we're never going to see again. Like it's just kind of like, or it'll be back, but it'll be back like recontextualized into something that makes more sense or
on a lot of the older shows. Yeah, a lot of the older shows, they didn't know what the characters were going to be yet, so they're still trying to figure out the relationships and the
sometimes the first season is almost a wash. So
exactly. Yeah. So to get a modern Trek show that nails the pilot, oh man, it's truly, I think next to Enterprise is up there too. But
Deep Space Nine, I think the Emissary is up there for me. But those,
interesting.
There's not many though. I think you're right. It did land for me too. There's a little bit of setup here, and it definitely knows, because it's set in a certain period, what its characters are going to be, which maybe is why it can stand more confidently. But I like the pilot, and it's my favorite Trek too, just like Joe for the new series.
Well, I think so. You have these characters established already in Discovery. You knew they were popular. So right away, after season 2 of Discovery, people are like, oh, we love Pike. We want a Pike show. So they're like, okay, we'll make a Pike show. So even their best Trek show, they didn't even think of that idea themselves. The fans just said, we want that. So they made it. And that's what we wanted from the beginning. And the writers have said it's going to be an episodic, but with overarching kind of character arcs throughout. Sort of like DS9, how they did it. So that's definitely what I've been wanting for a long time.
What do you think about the pilot, Colin?
I loved it. There is that reverse engineering Jacob saying where it's like, okay, this kind of worked, or like, what else do we have on the board? Oh, Nurse Chapel was a character kind of in the original series. Can we, pluck that out and make a Nurse Chapel character?
Yeah.
I find that to be satisfying, interesting. I like the performances across the board. I told you guys this is my first time where I'm like, oh, the captain is the character I will be following the whole time. Christopher Pike, Anson Mount, rules.
And
He's great.
his name sounds like they need to have a character called Ensign Mount on the ship. I swear.
yeah.
But anyway, go ahead, Jacob.
His con is named his name.
Ensign Mount. Yeah. The man's worst enemy is himself, yes.
I love him too. He's a great combination. He's like a combination of Kirk and Picard. He takes the best features from both and kind of combines.
And a little bit of Riker. He's a risky boy.
He's what I think is the new modern version of a James T. Kirk. Like, we were trying to figure out exactly what that is. He's funny, charismatic, stylish, cool, sensitive, but not too sensitive, and drinks whiskey. I think that's exactly like what
and he's
that
kind of
character
tortured.
is now.
He's got a tortured thing going on because of his inevitability of his future too. So he's got a little bit of that. So I like it a lot. Can I just highlight some of the character recasts that are from the original series to now?
Yeah,
so you have Pike. Obviously, you have number 1, who was played by Majel Barrett, who was Gene Roddenberry's wife in the Cage, the unaired pilot.
Yes.
Then she played Nurse Chapel in the original series. So we have 2 characters that were played by Majel Barrett in the show now, number 1 in Nurse Chapel.
Wow.
We also have Cadet Uhura, of course, who's like, it's her first day, right? We have Samuel T. Kirk, or I don't know if his middle name's T. Samuel Kirk.
Kirk.
And then, of course, we have Spock. So we have all these connections. And then we also have a Khan relative or Khan's daughter.
So I want to mention this. There's a little bit of weirdness with what's happening with this cast, because it does introduce Khan's daughter, and she had her family attacked by the Gorn, but we know in the arena that the Gorn were not discovered until Kirk fought that Gorn. So like there's issues with continuity.
But also, this is 10 years before they even discovered.
But they would have. They haven't even discovered Khan yet. Yeah, so they're doing a little bit of grabbing things that shouldn't be there. But overall, because I think the story is so good, I can forgive a lot of it. But it creates a couple blips on the timeline, but nothing too egregious, I guess, if you just don't care. If you look at it for what it is, I think it's great out the gate.
Them blipping out.
Yeah.
There's minor things like, why do they have better technology now than they had in the original
But that's
series?
been a thing since Discovery. But I think if you take it at face value, I mean, Joe, how do you feel? But I think it's doing a good job with its characters and crew.
I love both the episodes. Captain Pike's my favorite character, but the ensemble is so strong. Like, every scene has worked for me so far. I'm just waiting for them to like bring it down to, if there is going to be something episodic, like I'm a little nervous.
Serialized.
I like serialized. Yeah, I like how episodic it feels, and like I don't want to like lose that.
I totally agree with you, Joe. I mean, this is what I've wanted from Alex Kurtzman and the producers behind New Trek for years. All I wanted, my nemesis, my Star Trek nemesis.
It's not Tom Hardy; it's those two. Yeah.
Yeah,
my nemesis.
But that's the thing is like I really like these first 2 episodes, but I'm waiting for like the other page to turn because
the shoe to drop.
The same people, the other shoe to drop.
Damn, they would get you in Picard too. One episode's okay. Oh nope.
Yeah, it's the same people behind it, so I know they're gonna fuck it up somehow.
I agree with that 100%. And they have gone on record now saying we're gonna have like comedy episodes. Like there's gonna be full episodes where there's like
comedy
stuff.
Star Trek.
Now,
Tribbles.
As someone who's jumping on this TNG at the moment, where it's like, and again, I jump around, I skip, I fully do whatever I want. There will be moments where I'm watching like the goal torture Picard, where I'm like, okay, like, relax, Colin, like we got to go to another one after this. Like, let's see. Oh, Moriarty's loose from the hollow chamber.
Yeah,
perfect. We can't mess this up, right?
Yeah.
But still, by the end of it, even though it is a fun, lighter episode where I'll be like, oh no, it's making me question reality, and Picard saying
artificial
this thing about
intelligence.
How we're all probably a simulation at the end or whatever. Or, it's like, it'll be an episode where I'm like, oh, Geordi's going to date this girl that he's kind of interested in. Oh, she survived like this terrorist event and he knows too much about her and it's all like weird and stuff. And I'm like, okay.
That's
even
weird.
The light.
Oh, the Laura Brahm hologram. Yeah.
Guys, they are so intense still. And what I get nervous about is the tone shift that this thing's going to have to balance is going back and forth, still keeping the intelligence up, the energy up, while being able to dip down into that fun territory. And I loved both the episodes of Strange New World, but I did get a little nervous at the end of the Meteor one, where Pike is straight back to my future fate. I got to give this monologue about this dark thing. And if he's giving those every episode, I'm going to get a little bummed out.
Yeah,
It does seem that's going to be more of an overarching thing. I will say I've seen the third episode preview, and I know sort of what it's going to be. The classic away team goes out, gets infected by something, starts acting weird. It's going to be like
solve
the Naked
it.
Now, or those classic episodes where
Sulu takes his shirt off and is fencing and stuff. Can I
say, I can't wait to get to the episode or to the point where I can say the episode titles like you guys, where you're like, it's gonna be like this thing, and you're all like, oh yeah,
you'll be there. What I want to highlight is these first two episodes kind of break down what is the parable that's happening, right? And then how does that play into maybe Pike's, with the way he handles the problem? Because I think both these episodes, maybe the second one a little bit less, but Pike knowing his fate affects the way he reacts to that scenario directly. So in the first one, we have a civilization that they essentially have what seems to be a warp signature way before they should be ready to get into space. A team investigates with number one. They're lost, so then the Enterprise goes find them. We find out then that somehow the Society didn't find a warp engine. They have built a warp bomb, and they are about to destroy each other. So do we interfere? Do we not? Prime Directive is not what it's called yet, but this is kind of our setup.
General Order
This
1.
mission goes so bad, Mike.
Yeah.
Like, main directive? Fuck you. We're calling it the Prime Directive.
Yeah, this is the episode
that'll never stick.
Prime Directive.
Yeah.
It'll never stick.
Yeah. It wasn't called that in Enterprise. So it's interesting. You get classic Trek stuff, though.
Don't worry
like,
about it.
Oh, what's a warp signature? I don't know. High tachyon readings. And like, let's put on some prosthetic makeup and we'll blend in like the locals, like those old TNG Romulan episodes. It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Your job is to make disguises for us? Kind of.
Yeah.
And your
they
job
hit
is
him over
to
the head
steer
and
the
steal
ship?
the outfit. Oh, yeah.
I want to
So
say
it's classic. It's classic Trek.
Yeah, I actually like the second episode even more, and I like the twist of that episode where basically they thought they knew what was happening, and they got kind of proven wrong. Where they're questioning these aliens that are like the guardian of the comet, right? But then they find out that like, oh, maybe they were right because it was predestined that Spock would do that thing that he did, and then the comet would go off course or whatever.
Which does play into, the overall arc that Pike's going through here. I mean, he's seen a vision of the future. Is it going to happen no matter what he does? I mean, I think the adventures are playing into it, so I'm here for that.
Yeah, and even the warp bomb, I think it's like he can show them a vision of the future of where Earth did the bombs, and then they can be like, maybe we should change our destiny. So we have two episodes kind of contrasting. One saying predeterminism is a thing, another one saying freedom of choices. And again, that's a big philosophical thing, predeterminism, free choice. That's what we're going to be wrestling with, but it has played into both episodes. So
yeah, and I think in the second episode, it's gets in the question of faith, and predeterminism, like, is faith good? Like, should you have faith? That kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
I
and
mean, it's literally about bringing life. Like, it's not subtle, and I appreciate that. Like, it shouldn't be too subtle. It's Star Trek. That's the point.
Yeah. And one note, as an Enterprise fan, I was a little bummed to see the translator nervous to be in space. I don't know if I belong here, Captain, because that was very much Hoshi's entire arc. She was the linguist, and she's like, I don't really know if I'm comfortable in space. They're doing it with the Uhura. It's like,
right.
It's literally the same position on the bridge. You didn't even give it to the engineer. It's like, come on. Yeah. But I do like the language of music and the way she figures that out. I mean, I enjoyed those elements. It just felt like this is Hoshi again.
Yeah, and I just like that they're giving her a more characterization, because she doesn't get a lot to do in the original series. Like, she's kind of
there's a signal, Captain. That's pretty much it.
Like I mentioned before, the original series and the movies are very much like the Bones, Spock, and Kirk show, right? And the other characters are very much supporting characters. Didn't get a lot of characterization by themselves. Now we have Uhura. She speaks like 37 different languages. Like, that's interesting. Like, I really like what they're doing with her character.
I really like what they're doing with all of the characters, and I think I'm gonna tie it back into what I was saying. Picard is like my final note. Just start from here, man. Like, this is the base that people like. Discovery can be a precursor and just build on from here. Like, I like Spock now. Like, I have not cared for the idea of Spock until I could contextualize him as the new Data. Like, to me, as a modern Trek person, like, watching something in this era for the first time, like, that's how I see him. I think you should pull on all these elements. Hoshi, like pull on all of the legacy. Start with Strange New Worlds, put them in any time, but just keep pumping out shows like this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's just crazy because this is what we've been asking for years.
It's so
it
simple.
Took them
like
4 seasons of Discovery.
There's literally a template for it. You've made it 5 times.
You guys say it is. I don't know, but you're all getting so angry too. Of like, well, didn't these writers look up that like by writing this one line they've created 3 anachronisms? It is impossible to write these shows.
We have become the fans that we heard about when we were kids.
From here. Just start from Strange New Worlds, and like this is.
I'm with it.
Well, they can make things in different era though. Well, yeah, but with Discovery, it's like nothing mattered in that show anyway, because by the end of season 2, you know, they're pre-original series, and then at the end of season 2 they jump into the future, and no one in the past knew about them because they were like a top secret ship. So literally, it doesn't have any effect on anything else.
It's an inconsequential series. Yeah. But this is very much tied into it.
So far in the future that it doesn't matter at all. This can connect to the original series, and people can be like, oh, I remember that character from this episode or whatever. And it doesn't have to be perfect canon. Like, I understand there's going to be some anachronisms. Like, there's so much Trek out there that, of course, it's going to be hard to write those things. So I can excuse that. But just give me that classic Trek feel. That's all I ever wanted.
That's what we want, yeah. The
more
taste
than
and feel.
It. I can embrace it. Like, I can learn to love, you know, the new canon if you just build on it from here. And I'm fine if you want to, like, bring back the new Borg Queen. I think that design's great. Like, if we're going to see Borg at some point, you could just have her. Like, we know what new Guinan looks like. If you're going to have any of these characters, don't, like, same thing with Star Wars. Quit bringing people back, man. Like, let's
even in Picard,
I'm okay with Picard is you're dragging sorry for the turn of phrase, the corpses of TNG out on parade, right? Meanwhile, it's like, let's just get a new Spock. And I normally thought it'd be like, I don't want to recast, just do something new. But the character did grow on me. I like new Spock. I'm okay with just bringing Chapel back, doing something different with her. Like, I'm kind of, because the rest of the show is so good.
Yeah.
And
I can forgive a lot.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I can't forgive a lot because I think Picard. Sorry, Jacob, to cut you off.
No,
it's like, I can't forgive it because I think it's bad Trek. But this is good Trek, so I can forgive a lot of that BS. Otherwise, I'm just hung up on it. But you're saying there's a Kirk now?
No, you're exactly right. I was just saying they've already cast James T. Kirk for the 2nd season of Enterprise.
And I didn't know that. Who is that?
My biggest question I was going to end this with to you guys was, do you think we would ever go that way? But of course we will. If we've got the brother, that's how it's going to go, Jake.
Yeah.
I thought that was his dad. Is that
chair?
Samuel Charles Kirk?
I think it's his older brother, is it not?
I think it's his brother, because this is only 10 years before Kirk is captain of Enterprise. So it wouldn't make sense that it was his dad and be that young, right?
And it's going to be something like, Captain Pike, that chair looks so comfortable. One day I'd like to sit in that too. And
that's what I think when
they... out of yourself, kid.
That was a great red herring in the 2nd episode where I thought they were just going to kill Sam Kirk in that episode, you know? And
we get a classic red shirt moment too, where it's like, here's a guy, you know, who knows if he's going to make it. That's a classic Trek.
You're like, oh shit.
But I'm down for it, and I love the modern, the redesign of the Enterprise to upgrade it, make it look more modern, but also keep the aesthetic and the feel of the original Enterprise. It just nails it. It's perfect.
And the score is also phenomenal. I mean, like, everything about the show is falling. Yeah. It's firing on all cylinders for me.
Yeah. And I'm at a point where obviously I know this is like TOS era, but I don't care if they dress it up. You kind of have to. And this feels like just if they were making it for the first time today with these parables, that's what it would be. And I wanted to touch on one thing we talked about with the original series, Star Trek, the movie, right? The scene where Pike is going back to the Enterprise and meeting with Spock is very reminiscent of Kirk going back in that dry dock sequence that we said was maybe a bit too long, but it was very reminiscent of like, here's the ship, and as Jacob mentioned, like the styling. I really appreciated that scene.
He needed a beard.
They really
Yeah,
let you.
with the cool beard.
And that's the other thing about that I didn't like about Discovery. It's like they actively were trying, like they didn't want to be too like nerdy about things. Where like, oh, we're just gonna let you look at the ship for like a minute. Like they don't really do that with Discovery. Discovery is just like they'll be like, science is fun. Like we love science, but they won't like get into the techno babble as much. This one, you know, they're not afraid to shy away from the techno babble and the nerdier aspects of Trek that make it so fun. You know.
Like the org chart, no one's speaking if informally, let's say in TNG and TOS. Like there's this, you know, unless they're really close buddies, like Bones and Kirk will do a quip, but the rest of the crew isn't just like, science is freaking cool, mate, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
That's so. That
When
was
you're
so
on the
grating
job, you're
about
professional. That's what the flagship should be, right? Unless you're in
That's
the lower
what I-
decks. Yeah, you know?
Yeah, Lower Decks I can excuse because it's an animated comedy.
And it's
I
not
can
the flagship.
understand that. Yeah, it's like the rejects that didn't make it on the Enterprise.
Yeah.
that's
but,
also like the whole point of the show. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
we're the guys who
But
can't
if you're
talk.
on the
They're doing the
Enterprise, yeah,
second
let's
contacts and stuff. Yeah,
be professional,
Um,
people.
yeah. There's so many characters in Picard and Discovery that they just grate on my nerves because they just don't seem like they would be Starfleet officers. This show mainly avoids that. They have some like more casual moments, like you know Pike's go-to phrase for like instead of you know make it so or engage or whatever he says. I can't remember what he says, but it's something
Either
like
punch
let
it or hit
hit
it.
it.
One of
Yeah,
the two.
yeah.
Hit it, baby.
Hit it.
Um,
Yeah.
But I can get behind that because he's got that Kirk you know swagger to him.
What's
So-
the other bridge officer? There's two. There's two new officers now. There's the comms and then the pilot. Ortegas. And then
oh
there's
yeah,
a-
the Ortegas, the pilot.
But the thing I wanted to point out is I didn't even notice this as I was watching the show, but then you see on the internet, it's like, oh wow, the entire bridge crew is female except for Pike and Spock. Didn't
Right,
notice.
noticed.
Also, don't care. Also, very cool. Like, nope, you know, no issues. But it's like I just
Yeah,
thought that was
wow,
interesting that
love
they
it.
did that. You know, it's very cool.
yeah,
I
I've
don't-
always liked that
there's-
about Trek is you know the
Yeah.
diversity.
It
of
just
the
felt
cast.
like the right person for the job. Every time I met somebody, it was like, yeah, okay, and we just, you know, and that's how it should be. So good on him.
Definitely. And that was never my criticism about Discovery of it being
Mm-mm.
too diverse or whatever. Like I like that aspect of it. I just
Idiots
thought the
think
writing was
that,
terrible.
but yeah,
Yes.
you know, not us.
Yeah.
We don't endorse that kind of thinking here.
No.
No.
Yeah,
So,
I really,
very
I
cool.
really love the whole ensemble. I'm so excited to watch the show grow. Like, I'm looking forward to it, and I haven't been looking forward to a new Star Trek show since I started watching new Star Trek shows.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I agree 100%. And the way a good pilot or a good set of episodes to get you hooked on Trek, you know, the goal is introduce your captain, introduce your top officers, get the rest of the bridge crew established, get them in a scenario, and then have them cleverly solve it. And we've had 2 episodes of that where I like this crew, I like the ship, I like the captain a lot. And through that kind of foresight thing, they can tell a darker, overarching line. You know, maybe it helps them bring some levity into a situation. YOLO, why not do stand-up comedy in the 1940s San Francisco? Like, who cares, right? Who knows where we'll end up? Strange New Worlds, like I said on the thing, is pretty familiar, and I'm glad, and I'm here for it.
I'll just say, if you like Strange New Worlds and you want more of this, you know, Pike and the crew, check out Discovery Season 2, Episode 2, New Eden. That's a very kind of standalone Star Trek adventure. It has the feel of Strange New Worlds, and I think that's where, when they made that episode, they're like, let's just make a whole show that's this.
I'm
It's a
pretty sure New
no-brainer.
Eden is where like the movement began, where people were like, "This is
Yeah.
what we need. This is what
What
we
the
need."
fuck? Just make the show.
They made
Yeah.
a Star Trek? Finally?
It's crazy that it took them so long to figure that out, and that's why I don't really have, like I said, a lot of faith in Alex Kurtzman and the people behind it. So we'll see how it goes. But if they can keep it up, I'm
So far,
here
2
for
for
it.
2. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, maybe now's a good time to mosey on back to dry dock, get some repairs before we take off on another voyage next week. We'll talk about that right after this when we hit up final thoughts on Normies Like Us. Hit it.
He's so cool about it.
He is very
Cool.
cool. Let's just roll into it. That captain is very, very cool. I really
He's the coolest
enjoy
man.
him. Yeah. Yeah, so we're back. We're doing final thoughts. Strange New Worlds, oddly familiar. Took him long enough to do it, in my opinion, and I'm just happy for it. I kind of wrapped my thoughts up. Colin, anything you want to mention on Strange New Worlds as kind of the outsider getting into the Trek more deeply?
Yeah, I don't know if this is controversial, but I'll say this: there's never been a bad Spock actor. That's what this show's making me realize. Leonard Nimoy, Zachary Quinto, this
Yeah.
guy as well. Ethan
Yeah.
Peck, Josh Peck. I'm sorry, I can't remember your name.
Josh Peck.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
Josh. I think it's Ethan
Josh
Peck.
of Drake
yeah.
Peck,
It's definitely not.
Um,
Yeah, he did a great job.
I'm like, to me, it's like you guys are like, finally good Trek. To me, I'm like, Trek's always been good. I watch 3 different Trek shows. I watch the episodes everybody talks about. They blow my mind every time. I don't have to be nervous about it. I'm at the point now where I'm like, Colin, even though it's going to be so long between movies that we talk about them, you cannot just watch all the Kelvin movies right now. You can't just watch First Contact and start doing the TNG movies. Just
That's what I
because
wanted
you're, like,
to do,
living
too.
in that
You just want to
world.
burn through
Yeah.
him.
Like, relax, dude. Trek is that one thing where, like, and if Strange New Worlds can harness this energy, I watched the Lower Decks TNG episode that inspired Lower Decks.
Yeah.
Lower Decks is one of the shows that is top Trek for me, in my opinion. I know you guys see it as like a comical thing, but the energy I think it taps into so well, the best TNG DS9s do, and what I hope Strange New Worlds does, is 2 people talking on screen that I don't even know who they are. They're random Starfleet people. I will always want to be like, no, don't cut away. I want to see what they're talking about. Or like, I like everyone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
Mhm.
the organization puts me in such a mind of, I want to know everything about it. So it just follow your hearts on that. If you're telling good, heightened sci-fi that always has a human heart tale in the middle of it, then you're going to be making good Trek, because that's what it is to me.
Yeah.
I just want to say about Lower Decks, like if you haven't given it a shot yet, I say go for it, because you know what? I think it's pretty good. And like there are obviously comedic aspects to it, but there's some good character growth, some good character arcs in that show. Mike, it's got your favorite actor, Jack Quaid.
I love Jack Quaid. I'm actually going to go back to watching it now that I realize that.
Yeah.
Tied up with
And
the boys.
They can do so much with that show because it's in that classic TNG era that everyone loves. They can bring back different actors. They don't have to look the part because it's only animated. They can just do the voice. So they can bring back Riker as like prime Riker.
Worf
and it
can
doesn't
show
matter.
up. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot they can do with that show. So I actually do like that one as well.
Yeah, and I want to make one more highlight about what makes it good is, we said Picard seems like no one's watched Star Trek, but this show seems like they've watched all of the Star Trek because there's so many deep cuts and little references. Like the people behind this show do truly love it. They're all about it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you can tell it was made by fans.
Yep.
So basically, there's 2 good new Trek shows, 2 bad new Trek shows, and one that I haven't seen that's for kids, I think, Prodigy.
I think I'm kind of in that same boat.
Yeah.
You forgot about the Orville again.
The Orville,
Coming back,
Also
New
good.
Horizons.
that's right.
And then there's a
Strange
man
New
who paid
Horizons.
people to pay him to say, well, you're making a comedy Trek, right? And he's like, yeah, comedy Trek. And it's
Yeah.
like, nope, I'm just ripping it off, you fools.
Well, Seth
Mhm.
MacFarlane, huge Trek fan, and that was evident even when he brought the TNG cast into Family Guy for that one episode. He's always been a huge fan, so he
I
just
should
wanted to
watch
make a
that
Star
one.
Trek show, basically.
And there's a fragment of the audience that wasn't being served by regular Star Trek, so he had to make
Right.
it for us. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he basically remade TNG with different, alien names and stuff like that. But
He Galaxy
it's
Quested it,
good.
yeah.
And there's a big, kind of big season 2 spoiler that's going to affect the whole new season, where the data of their crew kind of turned out to be evil, and there's from this whole race of like evil robots, and that's going to be a big part of the 3rd season.
So-
I think.
But this is
Oh,
quote
the
unquote
Borg.
New Horizons. So what is this? This is a relaunch, a rebranding, a spin-off, a season 3.
A
Well,
phase 2.
Did you
I
watch
think
all of
it's a
season
5
2?
years?
Did you finish season 2, Colin?
I did
Okay.
finish season 2.
Because there's that whole like basically there's this whole like war with that robot species, right? And things go badly, I think. So I don't remember exactly what happens, but I think
Some
that's going to
time
tie in
travel.
heavily. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think it's also just a joke, guys. It's the new Horizon is the next generation. You know what I mean? Like I think it's just
Yeah.
it's been 2 years since they had a season, so we're
Right.
back.
Well, this is very likely to be the final season for the Orville, so check it out. I mean, it's good. If you're a fan of Trek, you're going to like it because it's just someone who really loves Star Trek wanted to make a Star Trek show but didn't have the IP, so he just made a new Star Trek.
And
I think it
hired
worked
Star
really well.
Trek actors in cameos. And
Yeah.
a ton of
This
fun
is
to
my
watch.
original show, War Star. You'll never guess what it's
Right.
based on.
In the movie War Star First Contact. You're
Yeah.
"Hmm."
Jacob,
I
can you
don't
tease
know.
us? What was the episode 3 teaser? If anybody who's listening to this wants to continue or start Strange New Worlds, what does episode 3 tease us with?
Oh yeah. So episode 3 looks like it's gonna be that classic. Go away mission gets infected with something weird.
That's
and
right,
come
space
back.
disease. Yeah, coming back to the
people start
ship.
acting weird, and they got to figure out what's going on. So
A lot of Nurse Chapel. That's gonna be fun. He's gonna be knocking
Probably,
people
yeah.
out left and right. It's gonna be a great time. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I believe that comes out on Wednesday. So everyone check out Paramount Plus, PP Plus on Wednesdays.
I thought it was a Thursday show. Even better.
I think
Yeah.
maybe it drops at midnight on Wednesday or something. I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
Hey, isn't
check
it
that out.
astounding, real quick, we can wrap it up here, but Netflix really is the only interface in the game for streaming services, isn't it? Like, Paramount Plus is like, it's so
Oh, it's
garbage. It's
awful.
like
Disney
it's
Plus is
sound-
pretty bad.
it-
HBO is bad. Yeah.
Like, when I
Netflix
try to
has it.
rewind on it, it's like it can't do that. And I'm like, you can't rewind? VHS tapes could rewind.
it's
Can't even
madness.
find the
And
show.
on Paramount Plus, if you use it on like a web browser, if you pause it, it like minimizes the video and shows a whole like ad on your screen.
And the sound keeps going.
Yeah, and then sometimes it
Oh,
doesn't
no.
like start again properly. I have to reload the page, and then of course there's ads, which is a whole other thing that I don't like.
It's just like it's incredible, isn't it? It's like none of you can figure it out except Netflix.
Here's
Yeah.
what's sad. I'll just
HBO's
be-
not good either.
Yeah.
No!
I'll be quick. No. Disney's bad, but
Disney
here's
Plus is pretty good. Peacock's pretty good.
Hulu's terrible.
Some
Disney
of
Plus,
it
I
Hulu's awful.
Every once in a while, I have to do this thing on my
Wasteland.
TV to like reset something on my TV so that Disney Plus will actually work because it keeps not working for some reason. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Netflix keeps making me log back in, so if I
Well, they're
go
running
to it
tests
and
on
it tells me
password
to log
sharing.
back in, I'm like, nah, I'm not even.
Here's
about
here's
it.
the thing. I feel bad for Netflix real quick before we get out of here. They literally were like, look, streaming's the future. And everyone's like, nah, get out of here. And they're like, look, streaming's the future. Give me your shows, give me your shows, give me your shows. They built the audience and the platform. And now everybody's just taking their shows away. And it's like, no wonder their stocks are dropping because like
Yeah,
they
and they're
built
losing
the business
subscribers.
for you. And they're like, yeah, fuck you, Netflix.
well, even Star Trek, all the Star Trek.
They
used to be on
etubertade
Netflix.
them.
And now, I have to go on Paramount Plus and watch ads 4 times an episode instead of just watching it on Netflix.
Yeah, we have 5 streaming services. Yeah. But
Yeah.
on which streaming service can we find our next week's episode, Jacob? Is Paramount Plus Housing, the
Paramount
next in our
Plus, yes.
series? I hope you like Star Trek.
Oh,
I hope you
will
do,
never
too.
be done.
That's right. Next week
Just
we're doing
kidding.
Star Trek Episode 2, The Wrath of Khan. It's not called
Yeah.
episode.
Attack of the Clones. Episode 2.
We're going to learn all about our new security officer's father.
That's right. And if
Yeah.
normies, if you're watching along, if you want to watch what's it called? Space Seed, original series episode, Space Seed. That's where
Mhm.
Khan first comes in. So watch that,
Botany
then watch
Bay.
Wrath of Khan.
Mhm.
Botany Bay. Oh no!
Yes.
Look up.
If you want
That's
that
right.
context, yes, absolutely. And yeah. Any last thoughts on Trek, boys? We warping on out. I think that's
I love it.
pretty
Let's
solid,
work on
yeah.
out. Or no, I'm like Barclay. I will put you guys in the transponder or whatever they're called,
no.
but I will not go in it because I'm scared.
Yes. Well, we saw how the original motion picture, it is a scary thing, the transporter.
It
They
is.
just-
die
It
in
breaks
that
you out.
trailer.
Yeah, I'm
I
with you.
like it.
Shuttlecrafts for me.
So we'll get out of here. Before we do, normies, check out our star date, star log, captain's log, which is at normies_like_us, and leave us a review. Say star date, some number. This podcast was good. We would love that. And check us out on YouTube.
Yeah, really appreciate it again for trekking along with us. Leave any comments about your favorite Star Trek episodes, what you liked or haven't liked about Paramount stuff, Paramount Plus, and the best interface. Tell us the favorite interface. Yeah, let's do that.
Probably not.
There
But
we
we've
go.
been your
That's
hosts.
what people
This
want.
is
I want L
Anson, Colin.
cars. This is, what was it? Cadet Mike.
Cadet.
You can be lieutenant, commander. Come on.
Lieutenant.
Did I get a I got an upgrade. All right,
More
I'm
than
a
Harry Kim
lieutenant.
got in 7 years.
Damn.
And this is Captain Jacques-Luc Cobb Card. Make it so, normies.